Mhm. Okay, setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna make this work. Done, redirecting. Okay, meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. So we
Yay!
started here. And good evening, my name is Jonathan Pallant. Welcome to Artistry Today. I'm thrilled to welcome an icon in American music and recognized worldwide as one of the most exciting vocal stars of our time. Miss Denyce Graves continues to gather unparalleled popular and critical acclaim in performances on 4 continents. Miss Graves has become particularly well known to operatic audiences for her portrayals of the title roles in Carmen and Samson and Delilah. These signature roles have brought her to the Metropolitan Opera, Vienna Staatsoper, the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, San Francisco. The list of opera houses around the world just goes on and on. Denyce Graves has worked with the finest symphony orchestras and conductors in a wide range of repertoire and is one of the world's most sought after recitalists. The New York Times wrote, quote, "Her voice is dusky and earthy. She is a strikingly attractive stage presence and a communicative artist who had the audience with her through 4 encores." There is so much more history and countless accolades to be shared, but I really want you all to meet Miss Denyce Graves.
Yay! Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here. I'm delighted.
I'm thrilled to officially meet you tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the times that I've seen you in person in performance and whatnot. But let's just get to it.
Okay.
We have about 30 minutes, and I just want to let folks know that please do. I'm just going to check here on our Facebook page to make sure that we're good. But please do add questions in the comment section. We want to hear from you. I want to relay these questions to Miss Graves, and please do, let us know what you're thinking here. And hello to everyone who's watching. We've got people on, so this is super.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so Ms. Graves, you grew up in Southwest DC, Southwest Washington, DC, an area of our country and of the city of Washington not particularly associated with classical music, and certainly not with opera. And I know you've talked about this quite a bit in various forms, but can you tell us a little bit about what Southwest DC was like when you were growing up, and why you found this passion in music?
So that was the 70s. And what the area was like? Well, it was, there's a lot that I can say. I'm just trying to figure out if I'm going to open up this can of worms. But I myself come from a fantastic family, a loving mother who, raised my brother, my sister, and myself on her own while she was working several jobs. So life was a struggle, certainly for her, and raising 3 kids on our own, and for us in that particular time. But how I got into music, it really found me, and I do think that this is one of those art forms that sort of chooses it chooses you, and there are many stories that I could tell, but I was a student. Oh gosh, it's hard to sort of jump into it. I need to sort of start from the
Well,
beginning.
was the southeast side of DC, so excuse me, southwest side of DC, a safe place to grow up? Did you feel like you could walk around by yourself? I mean, is this where classical music was a haven?
No, not at all. It was incredibly unusual that I would find myself interested, in this particular art form. That was not what we were exposed to by any stretch of the imagination. But I come from I have a very strong religious background, and so we always felt that the Spirit of God was around us, and no matter whatever the circumstance was, we felt that we were protected because that was the way that we were raised. We were raised in prayer all the time. Before we left the house for the day, my mother would gather us in a circle and we would, do a prayer over all of our lives, and that we would be safe in our journeys throughout the day, and that she would be, going back and forth to work and us going back and forth to school. And so we believed that, and we lived in that. We lived in that idea that we were protected by God. And so when you ask the question if I felt safe.
I saw a video of your mom the night that you debuted at the Metropolitan Opera and how proud she was. You could tell that it was this maternal pride of, my little girl is on the big stage. There was someone else in your early musical life that played a huge role. Who is Judith Grove?
Oh my goodness. She was my kindergarten music teacher. All right. She was my elementary school music teacher. So, I was a very shy girl, very socially awkward, very, very quiet. I still very much am, actually. I'm very much an introvert who's led sort of an extroverted life. And it's been easy for me to sort of disappear inside of the characters that I portrayed, because it hasn't really been me, as it were. But I was incredibly shy, and I cried and attached to my mother, and I cried so much the first day of school, which I remember very, very, very clearly. It's still very vivid. And I cried until they took me to music class. And then when they took me to music class, I thought, oh my goodness, what is this? And there was this woman named Judith Grove who was playing the piano and singing. And I just thought she had one of the most gorgeous voices I ever heard. And from that point on, I loved going to school. And I always wanted to go because I wanted to go to music class. And so she was my elementary school music teacher from kindergarten through 6th grade. And then as I grew, from time to time, she'd offer me a couple measures to sing, and, I don't know, whatever it was we were doing. When I graduated elementary school to go off to junior high school, unbeknownst to both of us, she was the music teacher I just ran into her in the hallway and said, oh my goodness, you're here too. So she'd left the elementary school was W.B. Patterson Elementary School. And then I went to junior high school at Friendship High School, which was an experimental school, a school without walls. And so it was the first year, was the inaugural year. And so she was there too. And then she got me involved in All City Chorus. And All City Chorus is exactly what it sounds like. You gather the kids from all over the city, and you make one big chorus, and we would do concerts all over the Washington metropolitan area, your Constitution Hall and Kennedy Center and that sort of thing. So we were together again. She would come and pick me up on Saturdays, take me to rehearsal, wait for me during the rehearsal, and bring me back home. That was amazing. And then when it was time to graduate to go on to high school, she said, where have you decided to go for high school? And I said, oh, I don't know. And she said, there's a performing arts high school called the Duke Ellington School, and you have a pretty voice, and I think that you should audition. So she got the application. We filled out the application together. I set up the auditioned for the school. I got in, and then she became the vice principal of the school. Beautiful. So she was literally my guardian angel from kindergarten through the time that I graduated high school. And it was there one day that I was, I've told this story so many times, but I was late for class, and I was at my locker, and I was next to a girlfriend, Cassandra Cunningham, who we used to call Cassandra Countryham. And she said, Denyce, you've got to come hear this thing I just heard. And I said, I can't, I'm late for class. She said, no. You've got to come listen to this. I just heard something that I've never heard in my life. And so we went to the listening library. She said, "You got to come here, and you won't believe when you see this woman what she looks like too." We get to the music library. We go and she found a recording of Leontine Price singing Puccini arias. So that was back in the day of the LP, right? So we played it. It'd get to the end and say, "Play it again." So she'd play it, and it'd get to the end. We'd sit and listen through, everything. After some time, there was a knock on the door, and it was the custodian. It was 8 p.m.
Oh my goodness.
The entire day, we didn't eat. We didn't go to the bathroom. We listened to Leontine sing for hours and hours and hours and hours on end. And she and I decided, okay, that's what we're going to do. We want to be like her, that we wanted to. And so she and I made this pact that we were going to set on this path and become like Leontine. But we didn't even know what that meant. We had no idea, or if we could even do that. I mean, and no one can. There's only one Leontine Price. And so she and I went to Germany together. We did an exchange program. We went to the opera there. We lived with German families. We went to Oberlin College together. We were roommates. We were both in the conservatory. And we set out on and embarked on this path of classical music. And that's how it happened. I was introduced to it from hearing this recording of Leontine. And that was the day I fell in love. That was the day, because I said, that I was this really awkward, really shy little girl. And that was the day that I felt like I found a purpose. I felt like I found one of the reasons that I thought, that's what I want to do. That boy, if I am able to do that, that is what gave me direction. And
so from a shy little girl to singing on the world stages, a role like Carmen.
Yeah, that was important. That was incredibly important to me. And actually, I gave a chat some weeks back at Juilliard School, and I talked about how I think there was no mistake that this particular woman came into my life, this character of Carmen. Because I was the least likely person to portray someone like her. But also, it was incredible that was the first thing that I did, really. I mean, I was a young artist at the Houston Grand Opera Studio. The very first opera that we did was Carmen. I sang the role of Mercedes. Audrey Firestone sang that Carmen. I got to watch and study that role up close and personal. And before I finished my contract with Houston Grand Opera, I got my very first, before I finished my contract with Houston Grand Opera, I got my first contract as a solo artist, and it was for the role of Carmen. And that was with Minnesota Opera. And then everything started. But I was incredibly nervous and incredibly worried. It was not, I'm not a natural person on the stage. I've learned to become that, but it isn't my nature to be, extroverted in that way. I'm very, very much hidden and inside.
And for our viewers that don't know, of course, the role of Carmen is anything but introverted.
Well, you can go. And I think, it was important because she sort of pulled me and yanked me out of my shell and demanded that I stand tall, and demanded that I stand up for myself, and demanded that I speak for myself, and demanded that I be in control of my own life. She taught me how to be a woman. There's no question about that. And I've always said that I don't think that there was any mistake that I've had the journey with her in particular, that I've had, or a lot of the strong women that I've had the great fortune to portray and to have to examine. They have been great teachers in my life and taught me to really stand up for myself and, not to be the little shy bird that nature sort of created me to be.
So I had a conversation last week in thinking about tonight and questions to ask, because I could talk to you for hours. A mutual friend of ours is the artistic administrator at the Metropolitan Opera, and Jonathan Friend.
Oh.
And after enduring his humor and insults, which is our relationship. Um, he did say something, and I have his permission to quote him. And he said, "You have stage presence galore, yet you never upstage anyone. You are simply magnificent." How do you do that?
Well, I believe I would say that I grew up in a very, very religious foundation. And for my own life, that's moved from less dogmatic religion into more of a spiritual perspective about looking at life. And I believe that each person's path is glorious. And I believe that everybody has their own sacred path that they're walking. And so what's for you, I believe is for you. What's for me is meant for me. And then I have the moment that I have to do whatever it is that I'm charged with doing. And then it's the gracious and the generous and the loving thing to do and the humanitarian thing to do to allow the stage and create an atmosphere for your colleagues or those around you to have their moment. And so I've always been excited by that. You know, I'm excited on the stage when someone is doing well. It makes me like raise my game. And so, you know, that's quite a compliment. You know, he would never have said something like that to me. So I'm very pleased and very touched to know that. So thank you for sharing that with me. But so that's wonderful if that does come across. That's terrific, because I just feel like I've got enough work to do with what it is that I have to do. You know what I mean? That's enough work for me to concentrate on. And then it's always wonderful when you share that affinity with someone, and you know, you sort of volley, and you have your moment and they have their moment. And that's what real, I think, artistic collaboration is all about. You help inspire and uplift each other and make each other's game, raise each other, the level of the other person's game. So
How is it, and thank you for what you're saying, and a compliment like that from Jonathan should mean something, and does, and is so valuable, and you've earned it. So for many, many, many years, you were the leading lady. You were the Carmen, you were the Delilah. And in the past several years, you've moved into roles like Mariah in Porgy and Bess. What is it like? And I think you've sort of already answered my question, but what is it like to move from leading lady to, I don't want to say supporting character, but supporting character?
that's what they are. You know, I mean, you know, I've done these wonderful, wonderful characters that I've enjoyed playing so much. Probably Charlotte and Werther being my very favorite, if I had to choose. And in the last couple of years, as I continue to grow, there have been roles like Mrs. Miller in Doubt, or you know, Marnie's mother, Jess, that we did a couple seasons ago at the Met, or Mariah and Porgy and Bess, that are more supporting roles and secondary roles. I would say that I'm just happy to be doing what it is that I love to do, quite honestly. The time does pass quickly. I will say that. It passes quickly. I've been so surprised at how fast it's all gone. Because I think I've been so preoccupied and so busy with the work that I've been doing that I hadn't realized that the years were just going by so quickly. So that part feels like, oh my gosh, I've entered another phase of the career. And also, I mean, I see it in my own life. You know, my kids are older now, and I still on the inside feel like a young girl, and there are things that I can feel in my spirit that I would love to be able to do, but just the body doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
the body protests at the moment at some of that. So I know that things are changing and life is changing, and this is part of the cycle. And I'm fortunate to still be working. I'm fortunate to still be, you know, doing what it is that I love doing, and fortunate to be singing with this new generation of singers. So I have been afforded a level of respect that I like, that that my time in the business, it's gosh, it's a long time. It's a good run. It has afforded me, so that feels nice to me. It's wonderful to see some of the young singers that I've worked with be out there having their moment. So I'm happy for them. I am genuinely happy for their success and for is I don't think that this is a business that I think whether you like the person or not, this isn't a business that hands out careers. If someone's there, they deserve to be there, whether you get them or not, whether you appreciate them, whether you like their particular artistry or their message or their voice or whatever it is. Nobody is there without having put in the time and the work, and they deserve to be there. So in honor of that struggle, and you talked about my mother showing up at my debut at the Metropolitan Opera, and of course I didn't come from a family that knew anything about opera, nor did they really understand what it was like to be at this pinnacle, at this great place. They understood the struggle of what it took for me to grow up on Galveston Street to arrive at the Metropolitan Opera. My mother understood that. They understood that, and they were so proud and are still so proud of how I've used my life and how God has been at the center of everything that I do. And I'm proud of that too. So to answer the question, yes, there's a part of the ego that hurts a little bit when you're not up there. There's also a part that feels so relieved, I can't even tell you. There's a part that says, woo, yes, thank you, God, that I don't have to have that kind of a pressure. Singing the role of Mariah, even though it was a first for me, was a pleasure. It took some time for me to try to find who she was and who I was, who she was in me, who she was through me. Because I think I see her differently than some of the ways we've seen her portrayed. But quite honestly, I was just happy to be there. Happy to be there, happy to be doing what it is that I love doing, happy to be with all those gorgeous artists, and happy to be with all those African-American, 90 people on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera, most of whom were making their debuts. I had 3 students of mine in the cast, so it was a great feeling of just things coming full circle, of feeling such happiness for everybody and each person's success. There was a tremendous amount of support amongst this cast. I miss them. I miss Catfish Row every day. And so all of that was a gift. It was a gift, and so when we have the opportunity to return to that, or to, whether it's some other role, I'm happy to be able to do my part and to do the best that I can do with whatever that part is.
You mentioned your students. In 2001 or 2, I was getting my master's degree at Temple University in Philadelphia. And the very first time that I saw you was in a masterclass setting. And earlier, before we started, that's why I asked about your dog, as a matter of fact, because the dog was with you. And the passion with which you bring to teaching, and the level of down-to-earthness, shall we say, it just made all of the singers so comfortable and enabled all of us to be so successful.
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? I'm just so happy. Well, first of all, I remember that. And you know what I remember? I remember that there was excuse me, because I don't remember her name, but I remember that there was an Asian American woman who sang a spiritual that knocked me off of my feet. That's one of the things that I remember about being there. And was John Douglas there then? John Douglas would have been, a coach or running the opera program or something.
I don't actually remember that name.
He's passed on now, God rest his soul. But he and I worked together at NEC. But it may have been even him who had Temple extend the invitation for me to
Okay.
come there and do the class. I don't really remember, but I enjoy that. And I love working with young people. I love working with people who are completely committed and surrendered to the art form and throw themselves into it. I think that there's nothing sexier than seeing somebody be good at what it is that they do and offer themselves entirely to what it is that they do. So I'm stimulated by them. I'm excited by their excitement. I love when if information that I'm able to impart and to see them take hold of that and use that and integrate that and work that in, that is a great feeling of, you know, satisfaction. I've had in my lifetime such gorgeous people that I have met that have nurtured me, that have taken care of me throughout my life and throughout the career. I'm
But
so grateful.
life hasn't always been easy. I don't want our audience to think that it's always come easily. And I know you've spoken of this publicly, so I'm comfortable asking about it. But do you mind telling us what a myomectomy is?
Well, you know, it's something, it's what, well, when you have fibroid tumors, and it affects a lot of African-American women. But I've had fibroid tumors all over the place, and in my life had wanted very much to have a family, but was unable to because the fibroids were in the way, blocking it. So I had 6 of those surgeries, where they basically make an incision in the abdomen and they go in and they take out these tumors, is what they are. And some of them are really quite big, but my body for some reason just kept producing it. As I said, it's been prevalent a lot in African American women. I don't know that they know why that is, but I had quite a lot of them, so that I could start a family. And I don't know where she.
Your daughter is how old now?
Oh my goodness, she's soon to be 16. She's soon to be 16, but I've been blessed with other children too. And I have my wonderful stepchildren, and I'm a grandmother, and I have 3 other kids. And they have been a source of tremendous joy and pride for us. And I've enjoyed that. And there've been some great sadnesses too with regard to that, because not everything worked out the way that we wanted it to, but I got my children the way that I got them. And so I'm pleased and grateful for that. But
It's beautiful.
oh, wait, Sophie.
You know, there's we're gonna wrap up in just a minute. There's a line from a musical that you will know, and the line says, "I can't tell you any sure way to happiness. I only know that you've got to go out and find it for yourselves."
Okay, so you asked about the. Sorry, you asked about the Sophie.
Yeah.
You asked about, this is the new. Well, she's not so new, but
Sophie.
new to you, Sophie.
Adorable.
That's her, and she gave us 11 perfect pups, and was the best mother in the whole wide world. But anyway, so I don't have Madison anymore, the white dog that you knew about, and that was on the cover of Opera News some years ago. But this is the latest one.
Beautiful.
Anyway, so you were asking about Carousel. What were you asking about?
So the line is, "I can't tell you any sure way to find happiness. I only know that you've got to go out and find it for yourself." And I'm just curious, have you found it?
Oh, what a question. I've always lived with the adage that happiness is not outside of you. It's not something that you seek. It's something that, it's an inside job, right? It's something that's there. So I would say, yes, I have. So, and thank you for asking that. I would say that I'm incredibly content. I love my life. I have a wonderful husband. I have wonderful children. My life is very rich with performing, with teaching, you know, and I've got enough that fills my heart and my soul. And so I'm incredibly grateful for that.
That's beautiful. I'm looking at Facebook now, And it actually, this is the first time all of the comments, there actually aren't questions. They're all just praise. It's beautiful. I'll never forget hearing her sing when we were students at NEC.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Yeah.
when you sang Carmen here in Dallas.
Oh yeah.
Gracious spirit and artist. I have one more question, and I'm going to ask you my rapid fire questions.
Uh-oh.
You singing the old woman in Candide, seeing Netta in Carousel, leads me to believe that maybe there's a little desire to sing on Broadway one day. And I'm curious.
I would love to. I would love to do that.
What role what is your dream role to sing on Broadway? And then I have to tell you something funny about a friend of mine here.
What is my dream role? Well, I've sung Nettie in Carousel. It's a good sing. It's not nothing. I mean, you know, you do the big gigantic tune. I think that for me, with Broadway as well as opera, some of the things that I would love to do, I don't think that I would ever do. You know, I don't think that I would ever do. First of all, it's not my voice type or what I think I would probably be cast for at this stage of the game. But I'm open to whatever. My daughter now is very much into Broadway, and she's studying at a performing arts school, musical theater. So we are being introduced to more musical theater than I could have ever imagined. But some of the roles that I've seen, I don't know that I would be, you know, for example, I went to go see Mean Girls, which I loved. I'd never seen the film. I didn't know what it was about. And we went twice, and I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. You know, and I don't think I would ever be cast, you know, in that part, but I loved, you know, the mother in that role, for example, in the musical. So I don't know, but I don't know. I think I would be open. There's not a lot that I know about musical theater. I've been learning a lot, particularly since my daughter's so interested in it. But fingers crossed. I was just before everything happened, I was approached about doing a role on Broadway. And I don't know, maybe that will be revisited once we come through all of this.
Well, we all hope so. And I have to tell you, there is a very popular cabaret theater artist here in Dallas. Her name is Denyce Lee. And she has been in all of the Dallas Theater Center, many productions, and she does a lot of self-produced kinds of things. And she did a cabaret show. And I say this with love, she's a dear friend, but it was called Too Old, Too Fat, Too Black. Roles I'll never sing on Broadway. And it opened with, in full costume, the sun will come out. Yeah. She was Annie in a full red dress, coming out smoking a cigarette. Brilliant. So
I love that.
These interviews were inspired greatly by James Lipton and Inside the Actors Studio.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he just passed recently. He just passed away. Yes. They always ended with the 10 questions that he attributed to the French journalist Bernard Pivot, who attributed it to Proust. So I've altered them a little bit, but they're sort of rapid, just whatever comes to mind.
Oh God, oh God, oh God, okay.
You know, and I keep it clean.
All right, all right. Oh, well, that's no fun.
Right. Oh, okay, well, in that case, I'll add the one I cut. What is your favorite word?
Baby.
What is your least favorite word?
Impossible.
What turns you off?
Rude people.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, my children laughing.
Amen. What sound or noise do you hate?
What sound or noise do I hate? Maybe I hate when something's squeaking, or like the nails on a chalkboard, or something that makes me cringe. Yeah.
What piece did you always want to sing but haven't gotten around to singing yet?
Nessun Dorma.
I'll buy a ticket. What piece did you sing that you wish you hadn't?
Oh my God, that's very easy. I'm sorry to say, because it's in your town. That would be Jane Seymour and Anna Bolena.
Ah, what year was that?
Oh,
Ish?
it was like 2010.
Okay. I was almost going to say
2010.
it's before I got here, but okay.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
So many, so many. An author, writing, for sure, for sure.
I think based on this conversation, I know the answer to this next one, but what is your dream for your children?
Oh, for them to just fully realize who it is that they want to be, and I just pray that God gives me time to be able to watch that in this body as Denyce Graves, for them to live their fullest life, whatever that means for them. I would love to see them just live out their dreams, whatever their greatest idea is about themselves. I want that for them.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you reach the pearly gates?
First of all, heaven does exist.
You know, I almost altered the question based on our conversation, and then I wasn't doing James Lipton.
What do I want to hear God say? Why? I've never thought of that. I think that what I would like to be known for is that I gave the best at whatever it is that I did. In other words, it's important to me to be a great lover, a great lover. I mean, not in the sense of, but I want to be a really good wife. I want to be a really good mother. You know, I want to be a really good singer. I want to be a really good friend. I want to be someone who expresses and shows and extends and gives love.
That's beautiful. I think you already do that so wonderfully. Miss Graves, Denyce Graves, thank you so much. Before we go, I'll just tell our audience that next week we have the music director designate of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, Maestro Fabio Luisi, will be joining us actually from Zurich, Switzerland.
Oh.
So we are thrilled to welcome Maestro Luisi. You are welcome to send questions ahead of time if you have those questions, if you'd like to know what he's thinking about as he comes to Dallas, starting his full season, God willing, this fall. Denyce Graves, thank you so much. I know it's late there.
I'm up now. I'm ready to go. So
you're ready to go. It's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure, Jonathan. It was wonderful to have met you at long last.
Yes, indeed. Well, I hope that one day we will welcome you here, and I have every intention of emailing you about some possible projects in the future.
Kiss those beautiful babies from Aunt Denyce.
I will. Right. Good night. Thank you so much.
Right. Good night. Bye-bye. Thanks so much. Thank you.